They're the ones that go in and shoot up Planned Parenthood. They're the ones that go into a school and mow down a whole bunch of kids. They're the ones that come to Arizona or live in Arizona and go open fire at a rally with a U.S. congressperson and shoot her in the head. Okay, Muslims didn't do that. But yet we're banning Muslims,
Not
not
by any
Christian
means.
fundamentalists that do shit like that. And that's the problem, is that in our country these days,
No,
you have to have somebody to blame to get people to follow you. Okay, so it's real simple to say, hey, you coal miners, your life is shit because of blah. And it's totally bullshit. But the people start believing it.
right.
And then start following it and then become sheep to it. And that's what happened with Trump's election. He talked about how he was going to revive the coal industry, and all these coal workers in Kentucky and Tennessee were going to get back to work. And instead what they got after he got elected was they got notice that all of their black lung coverage is now going to be turned off. And they still won't admit that they made a mistake or that this was a bad idea because of pride and ego. So I think that people need to get over that whole pride and ego bullshit.
I don't know. The way I see it is, now at this point, we can't really be considered Big Brother because, we are closing off borders. Everybody's getting told, no, you can't come here. But originally, the big idea was to just extradite the criminals and send them back. But now we've got our own people that are fucking criminals in the first place, and we've lost control. That's basically how it comes down to it. And now we've got some guy in the White House. Granted, he's not the one in complete control here, but he thinks he is.
Yeah, he's under the impression that he's actually making the rules.
I find it funny because I don't think any president has actually ever made the rules, much less have they actually followed half of them anyways.
But hey, he has played a lot of golf the past 6 weeks.
Oh, I'm sure. Pretty much every president does that one.
Yeah, but this guy's done like every weekend for 6 weeks.
Mistress.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just waiting for this guy to collect his mistress. He's going to have that soon enough.
He probably has a couple of them.
Let's face it. This entire country has lost control of everything that we've stood for in the past 200 and some years. I mean, I'm not going to sit down and do the math right now because I don't really care. But over 200 years, this was the country to come to because we allowed freedom. And now it's coming to a point, I would say over the last, I'll go 15 years or so, that it's become more of a suppressive country. We don't want this. We don't want that. We want this to be out of here. We don't need this. So we're going to put a ban on it. We're going to stop doing this. And that makes no sense to me because when you have other people coming into this country, how many of those people do we know are going to be a criminal or one of the greatest minds to science that we've ever had? Or say, perchance, we have somebody that comes into this country and they are the ones that are going to solve the big problem for, say, cancer or HIV or gonorrhea, syphilis, you name it, any kind of disease, this guy could cure it. Why are we banning all these people?
Because they're brown.
Pretty much.
When it comes down to it,
and
it's
because
they're brown.
And follow me on this one, but we got brown people all over the place here, don't we?
Yeah. And they all actually are Americans.
And we're gonna ban the brown people because they're brown. And we've got how many brown people running around here?
Lots. A couple,
it's
one or
pretty
two.
counterproductive.
Yeah.
Now, I can name off probably about a dozen that I know that are here. But let's face it, this country is losing control. The American public is no longer being able to have their say in what goes on. And it really is coming to that point. I can see if Trump gets his way, this will end up being a dictatorship.
I don't think
the bad part is
I don't think he's going to get his way on that.
The next presidency. Well, you can still see it coming though with the next presidency.
Well, yeah, I think that if you actually, for example, if Trump keeps doing what he's doing, eventually the Republicans are going to have to take action. If they impeach him and remove him from office, then Vice President Pence becomes president, and he will actually be the spearhead for all of the really, really evangelical right-wing ideology that could turn this country into just a disaster. I fear more from him being president. I can see that with any
Democratic president even.
Huh?
I can see that with a Democratic president too.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem is our country has turned into let's lie down and take it.
That's pretty much what it's come down to. It's funny. We are the people that went to war with another country across the ocean because of a tax on tea. And our government can tax us now, and we're just sitting here, fine, let's do it.
And there's no accountability for that. You know? Another $54 billion for military, and the military doesn't need it. But let's go ahead and throw it at them anyway.
Yeah.
That $54 billion could be used to fix crumbling bridges and bad infrastructure, but no, we'll go ahead and throw it at the military.
I don't know. This might piss off a few people, but when the hell did this country become a bunch of pussies?
I don't know, probably about a decade or two ago, give or take.
I think it was longer than that.
Well, it could have.
Give or take a few hundred years.
Yeah.
But this country has just become a bunch of pussies. I mean, we go to war for tea taxes, and now we just lay down and take it. And now we pull in a president who claims the war is the only answer. And the bad part is this dumb son of a bitch can get his way because he's going to say something stupid on Twitter.
Right, yeah. We're going to have World War III because of his Twitter feed.
Whatever the hell it is. Pretty much.
Yeah, we're going to go to war because he pissed off some foreign dignitary on his Twitter feed. Good job, Mr. President.
I can see that happening, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can, and that's the scary part of it. Is there's a lot of us that can actually see that happening, which is why we have an RV with solar panels on it, so that we can get the hell out of Dodge, you know.
Damn it, Scott, I'm coming to live with you.
I think we have a cow in the freezer, so that'll last a day or two at least. So, but yeah, it's a scary part, or a scary time. Really, when you think about it, it's kind of a scary time in our country because I think for the first time in a long time, we really don't know exactly where we're going anymore because, well, we actually don't even know what our president's going to say tomorrow. I mean, he could be twittering about me tomorrow, which would be really funny because that would be like, oh, wow, cool. That would be free press for the show. But overall,
yeah,
you just don't know what he's going to do next, and you don't know what our government's going to do next. They're trying to replace.
I think the worst part about it all is that when we get somebody like that is placed in a position of power or supposed power, in this case, all kinds of shit's going to happen. And the American public are the people that are going to suffer for it.
Well, I think we're already there. Honestly, I think we're already there. Because the American people, even though, you know, it's really hard to say how do you fix the dumb, okay? Because, I mean, the American people really have just given up in many different ways. And then during this election cycle, they had somebody that came forth and gave them somebody to blame and told them that they were going to be taken care of. And now they're finding out that that was totally bullshit.
Yeah, I would love to be taken care of, but wow, that ain't gonna happen.
Well, I mean, a lot of us do.
Go figure, eh?
But that's the other part too. Is as we were watching a conversation where they were talking about, well, people are it's the whole idea of, well, people just want free stuff. It's like, I don't want free stuff. I want to work for my living, and I want to have the opportunity to actually have a really good life like people who are rich do. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm not asking to be taken care of by the government. I'm just asking to be able to actually have a life where I didn't have to worry every day about what happens if I get sick, or what happens if I end up in the hospital, or what happens if I can't afford to pay my mortgage because I got my job laid off because I sent it overseas. And I think that's what most Americans want. Honestly, I think most Americans want that. Just the ability to enjoy their life, to have the opportunity to not have to stress about, okay, where's my next paycheck coming from, and how am I going to be able to pay my rent and stuff like that, but be able to actually have enough money and enough self-respect and respect from their peers to be able to enjoy themselves as a human, to be able to enjoy the finer things in life that don't cost a shitload of money.
And there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. I mean, people should be able to just live their life and kind of just be happy, enjoy the, comforts.
Well, I mean, they're basic comforts, but unless you're some of the people we know who think that the only rights that you have is the right to the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, well, that's kind of open to interpretation at this point. But yeah, it's
well, that's really living the American dream there.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is we have people that think that kind of crap. Is that, well, you don't really have any rights other than the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and there's no guarantee that you can be happy. You just have the right to pursue it. Well, that's not really the case, because
I don't know. I've got the right to bear arms.
If you're gay and you want to pursue a husband or a wife, depending on your gender, and somebody is making laws to restrict that, then they are restricting your pursuit to happiness. And people don't look at it that way.
Well, like I said, I got the right to bear arms, too, and I don't have that right because that's slowly disappearing, actually.
Overall?
Right, I got to go through several different background checks now just to own a gun. And let's consider, I've been around guns my entire life. I was in the military. We had guns there. And yet, I'm the one that's going to have to go through a mental exam. And these parents that have mentally challenged children that decide to go out and shoot other kids, they don't really have to worry about the background checks because they're squeaky clean, but their kids are going to tear everything apart. It's not a matter of who buys the guns. It's a matter of who uses them. And honestly, I know roughly about 20 years ago, the background checks were not near as strict as they are now because we have had these issues come up recently. Honestly, the way I see it is it doesn't matter who is in there for the background check because that's not going to matter anyways. Mm-hmm. People that want guns are going to get them.
Right.
Whether it be by the black market or by theft.
Or gun shows.
So what is the point